Most people will never succeed, not because they lack potential, not because they were born into the wrong family, not because life is unfair, but because they stop before the miracle happens. They start with fire, but they finish in smoke. They talk about dreams, but never build the discipline to turn those dreams into daily habits. They want the rewards, but they fear the price. They look for secrets, shortcuts, and steps, but the truth is, success is not a map you follow. It's a mountain you climb, and that mountain only reveals its peak to those who refuse to stop climbing. Every generation has the same pattern. The majority dream, the minority do. The majority wish, the minority work. The majority fear failure, the minority study failure. That's the difference between those who talk about success and those who embody it. Success has never been about luck. It has always been about law. The law of cause and effect. The law of belief. The law of persistence. The law of faith in action. Napoleon Hill once said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But here's the tragedy. Most people never truly believe. They say they do, but belief without action is self-deception. They speak of faith, but act in fear. They want to climb mountains while holding onto the ground. And life doesn't work that way. You cannot have the prize without paying the price. You cannot have the crown without first carrying the cross of discipline. Every dream has a tax, and only those willing to pay it in full ever get to call themselves successful. The few who succeed, they are not smarter, luckier, or more gifted. They are simply more decided. While others are waiting for the perfect moment, they are creating it. While others are asking for permission, they are giving themselves the authority to move. While others are wondering if it will work, they are making it work. They live by a code. Do it until it works. Do it until it happens. Do it until you become the person capable of achieving it. Most people never succeed because they never commit with both feet. They keep one foot in the dream and one in the comfort zone. They dabble in success like it's a hobby. When it demands devotion like it's a religion, they start a goal like a tourist. They visit it on weekends. They talk about it with friends. They post about it online. But when the storms hit, they pack up and go home. The few who succeed are residents of discipline. They don't visit their vision. They live in it. They breathe it. They wake up to it. They shape their days around it until the world bends in their direction. Thomas Edison tried 10,000 times before inventing the light bulb. When someone asked him how it felt to fail 10,000 times, he said, "I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work." That's the mind of the few. They don't see failure as defeat. They see it as data. They don't quit when the world says no. They double down until the world can't ignore them. Success is not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you decide that falling doesn't change your mission. The few have learned that pain is the price of transformation, and they don't run from it. They invite it in, because they know that behind every struggle is a lesson. Behind every rejection is redirection. Behind every setback is the seed of growth. But most people, they resist pain, they avoid struggle, they crave comfort, and comfort is the silent killer of potential. Comfort is seductive. It whispers, "You've done enough." It tells you to rest when you haven't earned it. It convinces you that tomorrow will be better, when tomorrow is just another name for never. That's why most people never succeed, because they worship comfort more than they serve purpose. The few who rise above, the visionaries, the innovators, the unstoppable. They learn to rewire their relationship with pain. They see it as a teacher, not an enemy. They understand that greatness demands discomfort. Look at Henry Ford. He was told repeatedly that his idea of a horseless carriage was absurd. The banks laughed, investors walked away, engineers quit. But Ford believed in his vision when the world didn't. He worked through humiliation, through doubt, through mockery, and built not just a car, but an industry that changed civilization. That's what happens when belief becomes identity. You stop asking, "Can I?" and start declaring, "I will." Most people never make that shift. They spend their lives waiting for proof instead of becoming the proof. They want signs from the universe, but the universe responds to signals. And the strongest signal you can ever send is decisive action. Because life doesn't respond to intention, it responds to intensity. Not to wishes, but to willpower. Not to dreams, but to decisions followed by discipline. You cannot think your way to success. You must act your way there. You must think with your heart. The few who succeed understand a truth that most people never even realize. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. Life mirrors you, your thoughts, your energy, your standards, your habits. They all echo outward and shape the reality you experience. If you want a different life, you must become a different person. That's the step most never take. They want change without transformation. They want growth without discomfort. They want to upgrade their results while keeping their old identity intact. But the old, you cannot enter the next level. The gates of success open only to those who are willing to let the old self die. Every major leap in life requires a funeral, the burial of old habits, old fears, old stories. That's what transformation truly is, a death and a rebirth. When a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it doesn't just grow wings, it dissolves. It turns into something unrecognizable before it takes flight. That's the price of becoming. That's the process the few accept and the many avoid. Most people fear losing what's familiar, even when the familiar is the very thing holding them back. They cling to comfort, to routines, to identities that no longer serve them. They say they want success, but secretly they want safety. And you cannot have both. The few choose evolution over ease. They are willing to step into uncertainty, to face the unknown, to walk into the fog with faith as their only light, because they know that growth begins the moment certainty ends. Every successful person you admire, every self-made visionary, every empire builder, they all began with a decision. I will no longer live like the rest. That's it. That's the turning point. Andrew Carnegie was a poor boy from Scotland, working in a factory 12 hours a day. But he decided that his mind was richer than his circumstances. He read books by candlelight. He studied the habits of wealthy men. He dreamed not of escaping poverty, but of mastering prosperity. And he became one of the richest men in history. Not because he was lucky, but because he was decided. Every great life begins with a single declaration: I am done being average. That's the day you stop playing small. That's the day the universe starts paying attention. That's the day destiny looks back and says, finally, they've remembered who they are. Because success doesn't come to the chosen. It comes to the committed. Most people never succeed because they never build inner strength. They are emotionally fragile. They let one bad day destroy a dream, one failure rewrite their story, One criticism silenced their voice. They hand their power to opinions, to circumstances, to emotions. And when you hand your power away, life treats you accordingly. The few, however, they build emotional armor. They are not heartless, but they are hardened by purpose. They've learned to feel pain without being broken by it. They've learned to face fear without feeding it. They've learned to move forward even when motivation dies. Because discipline took its place, they don't ask for the journey to be easy. They ask to be stronger for the journey. They wake up each morning knowing the battle is not out there, it's in here, inside the mind, inside the heart, inside the quiet moments when no one's watching. That's where success is built, not in the spotlight, but in solitude, not in applause, but in alignment, not in the moments of excitement, but in the moments of exhaustion when quitting whispers your name. The few don't listen to that voice. They rise again. They keep moving because they understand that consistency beats talent when talent forgets discipline. Most people never succeed because they mistake movement for progress. They confuse busyness with effectiveness. They are constantly doing, rarely becoming. They chase productivity, not purpose. They multitask their way to mediocrity. And at the end of each day, they're tired, but no closer to their dreams. The few move differently. They act from intention, not impulse. They know the difference between activity and achievement. They don't just ask what needs to be done. They ask what moves the needle. Every action they take is a brick in the wall of their vision. Every day they lay one more, perfectly, patiently, persistently. And one day, that wall becomes a fortress. That's how success is built, not in giant leaps, but in small, deliberate steps that never stop. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and destiny. It is the unglamorous work that turns imagination into manifestation. It is the daily battle to choose what you want most over what you want now. Most people lose that battle. They trade long-term gain for short-term comfort. They choose distraction over development. And every time they do, their potential dims a little more. But the few, they protect their time like it's sacred. They build habits that shape their identity. They live